Welcome everyone to episode 42 of the Chris Perish podcast. My name is Chris Perish and you are amazing. But first off, let's get a little bit of that beautiful little plugs out of the way. As you see here on the screens on my left and right, you see Rogue Energy. That's right. If you need a little bit of a kick to your day-to-day and you're tired of those energy drinks that just crash, don't worry, we got you. When you go to rogueenergy.com and you can check out all the amazing flavors, including my favorite, blue raspberry, which guess what? It's a sample size. So if you're going in, you can get your free sample sizes, but also you can get so many things like a beautiful little mug here. But what you also can do is you can save 10%. And when you do save 10%, that's by checking out by using the promo code PERISH, PERISH. And guess what? The more times you use that code, the more times Rogue Energy takes notice and says, hey, Mr. Perish, we see that your promo code is being used. We see all the traffic. We want to make you partner. So help me, help you become partner, because when I'm partner, I can give you a better discount than 10%. So let's do that. And if you want to check out Turnbuckle Studios, you can do so on the YouTube, on the Twitch, on all the platforms. But guess what? You can also check out all the great programming that I will show you later. But you can also join the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program, and that's right. And in order to do that, you want to go to affiliationprogram.my.canva.site to talk to the creator of Turnbuckle Studios himself, Mr. Carl Carafel, to learn more. So make sure you're going to affiliationprogram.my.canva.site. Now, with all that out of the way, we got a lot to talk about. A lot to talk about. And guess what? Before we do that, I just want to remind everyone, if you're watching on the Instagram, welcome. This is the debut of the Chris Perish podcast on Instagram, and I just want to say thank you. If by chance you're having a little bit of issues getting your comments out, because through StreamYard, we do not see these comments. Don't worry, I will see them. But if you want to get more stuff through to me on a more direct thing, make sure you're checking us out on YouTube. Make sure you're checking us out on Facebook and Twitch. But nonetheless, I thank you, I welcome you, and I hope that I see you in the chats, making us a little bit more of a fun show. What we have today is a packed episode, because this last week was absolutely insane for wrestling. Now, we got a couple of things that are very little to talk about, but a milestone. Bayley on SmackDown wrestled her 1,000th match with the WWE. That is insane. 1,000 matches. Imagine going a day. Chris Best coming in saying, I am here. And hello. I got some sore ears, but I am here. Well then. No, I'm just kidding. I won't yell. I won't do anything to rib you. Thank you. Make sure you're being careful with those ears. Don't want you getting any long-term damage on that. So take care of that. If you're just be careful, man. Ears are not something you want to mess with. We're talking a little Bayley wrestling her 1,000th match with the WWE. What an amazing milestone. I mean, I just imagine playing 1,000 games in a sport. Imagine making 1,000 sales if you're a salesman or saleswoman. It's a milestone, right? That just shows that not only are you doing something right by being allowed the opportunity to do it 1,000 times, but also there has to be a lot of faith with the company, knowing that, hey, we trust you. We trust everything that you're doing right now because we want you and we need you out there as much as possible. And 1,000 matches is nothing short but an amazing milestone. So congratulations to Bayley for that. We also find out that Downstate is being rumored and possibly confirmed by now to play Cody Rhodes out to the ring in Atlanta on October the 5th for Bad Blood. So Chris Best is saying, we had an air show in our city yesterday and had an F-18 fly by my apartment. It was extremely loud. Well, good thing it wasn't an F5 because you would have been out for the count. Had to. We're talking wrestling. So, had to make a Brock Lesnar reference there. But yeah, no, with the news with Def Rebel not being renewed by WWE, we hear Downstate, who does and has been doing a lot of themes in wrestling. Cody Rhodes, the WWE Universal Undisputed Champion, is one of them. The Miz, a 2-time Grand Slam WWE champion, is one of them. Seth Rollins even has a rendition of, or had a rendition of, a Downstate song. We've seen Alex Riley in the past. We've seen Dolph Ziggler with multiple versions. We've had a lot of people, and that's not including people outside of WWE, like Chelsea Green, or even Dolph Ziggler's Wanted Man TNA theme. Still, I guess, McNemeth for the people that will say, his name's not Dolph Ziggler now. McNemeth has a theme. But yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be cool. I think, when was the last time we actually saw a band play somebody out? I mean, it was probably Rhea Ripley, right? Motionless in White playing her out at WrestleMania. And that was an exceptional performance. I mean, that gave you a visual that just said, oh man, I wish I saw that. Like, I wish I was there to watch that. And it was insane with the lead singer and Rhea looking almost like a mirror image of one another, belting to the song together. I mean, it was just fun, and you just wish you were there. So I think this is nothing but a good thing. Having a live when Cody Rhodes comes out, I think it's just going to absolutely blow the roof off Atlanta, and they need it because the Falcons ain't doing it. Yeah. Had to throw some shade out there. It's game day Sunday, so yeah, had to. But yeah, no, let me know in the comments, and this will be the Spotify question of the week. Which superstar would you like to see played out to the ring by band? Could it be Randy Orton's Rev Theory? I mean, that would be cool. Even though that has happened. Even let me know in the comments by seeing the news of Downstate playing Cody Rhodes to the ring. Let me know what your favorite one was, whether it was Aleister Black's in NXT as he's walking through Code Orange with the lead singer of Rev Theory. Was it a Motorhead by Triple H? I believe that was WrestleMania 17. Was it the Degeneration X at WrestleMania 14? One. I don't even know the band. I know it wasn't Rage Against the Machine. I think it was definitely a cover band, but of some sort. Might have been Rage. I have no idea, to be quite honest. But yeah, which one was your favorite? Let me know. We are living in a day and age of wrestling where every little bit of news is taken and just being ran with it. Now, a lot of news, what you see may or may not be true. There might be some truth to it, but the actual statement might not be. We've heard a lot of rumors about contractual obligations or contractual statuses with superstars such as the Lucha Bros. Whether or not they have been signed to WWE or they're still signed with AEW, there's a lot of people speculating both. A few days ago, we heard that the Lucha Bros were in WWE, only to recently hear that no, they're still signed with AEW. Multiple sources have claimed one, multiple sources have claimed the other. But when you ask me what I think, I say when there's smoke, there's fire. And I can tell you what I haven't seen on my television screen in AEW lately, and that is Rey Fenix and Penta Zero. And we have not seen them on AEW a lot lately, or really even at all. So if by chance they are in a position where their contracts with AEW are coming up, if there's all these rumors about them heading straight to WWE after, you have to think that there's actually some truth to the rumor, but not necessarily the truth you want to hear. The truth you might want to hear is that they have signed with WWE and are about to make an impact in WWE. The truth is they might be in an expiring contract with AEW right now with no intention of signing a renewal or an extension. So they might be gearing to just wait out their contracts with AEW before moving to WWE. That is a possibility, and that is probably what is happening. But what we don't know necessarily are the fine details of their contracts, and honestly, nor should we. I mean, a contract is basically between them and the company, and the company's not going to say, "Yeah, oh yeah, they're not going to resign. They're going to our competitors." I mean, that might be the dumbest thing AEW could say, and the talent aren't allowed to say, what their intention is. They might, but they'll get in a lot of trouble. They'll get fined. They'll get probably hit with a lawsuit. So the only thing they can do is just have radio silence until you're legally allowed to sign with a different company. But at the end of the day, I think we can all admit that as much as we want to see them maybe jump ship, because I mean they don't seem to be happy at AEW right now and could be happy in WWE. We want that. If they want to stay in AEW because they're happy there, we want that. At the end of the day, if you're a fan of WWE, of course you want them over. If you're a fan of AEW, of course you want them to stay. If you're a fan of them, you're going to follow them wherever they go anyway. That's just the logistical thought here. But what you actually want is to see them happy and perform. And if you ask me what my opinion is, where I think they would thrive better, the answer is WWE, because I just look at Rey Mysterio and I see what they did with his mask sales, what they did with his background, what they did with the merchandising aspect. And there's no way AEW can outdo WWE in that field. There's just no way. And I do think the Lucha Bros know that, and I do think there's probably people in both companies that would admit to the same thing. But before we get in further, Chris Best had a singer saying the singer WWE hired was named Chris Warren, who sang DX theme. My personal favorite when Cord Orange played Aleister Black. Yeah, and the lead singer of Rev Theory was the vocalist there. I do remember that. So, yeah, let me know your thoughts on Lucha Bros, where you expect them to go, where you'd prefer them to go, and yeah, up until when the day comes and we have an actual story to say where they are. If they do sign with WWE, I will talk more about that. If they don't sign with WWE, we will talk more about that. But until then, until we see something actually true about the future of both talents, all we are doing right now is speculating, because whether or not they have an ongoing contract still with AEW, whether or not, that they were granted a silent release, or maybe their contracts did run out. Those are details the general public just don't know. So don't speculate on the unknown. You're just putting a bullseye on you, and that's not smart. In other news, we're talking about the Motor City Machine Guns being WWE bound, and this is more of a actual fact. In fact, we have seen visual teases made, none as recent as Xavier Woods on Monday Night Raw. Now, can he have referenced other people? Absolutely. But with the ongoing teasing of the separation with Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods easily showing frustration and saying something's got to change, I might be seeing old friends soon. It is very plausible that he is talking about Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley, the Motor City Machine Guns, as those people, because he did work with them in TNA while he performed under the name Consequences Creed. If this does come to fruition and we see a pairing of Xavier Woods, Chris Sabin, Alex Shelley, what do we think of that? Now, it's being rumored that the Motor City Machine Guns will debut in WWE on October 1 when NXT goes to the CW. But just because they debut doesn't mean they stay. Now, we've seen CM Punk of late kind of be at NXT. We've seen other main roster talent appear on NXT, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they're NXT people. Now, with NXT going to the CW, becoming more of a touring company, or touring brand, my apologies, we're going to see a lot of more people come and go. When we talk about ratings and how do we keep the ratings up or things like that, you're going to do everything you can to help that. Now it's a different ballgame. When we were used to NXT being at the Performance Center, there was an expectation that they were just going to focus more on the developmental aspect of it. When NXT was just in Orlando, whether it was Full Sail, wherever, you saw more of time consumed to the upbringing of the next generation of WWE. And now that they're on the road touring, or set to be on the road touring, we now know it is not necessarily just about the developmental. That is now a Performance Center business, right? We won't see people have their first match ever in an NXT ring. Probably not. Maybe Could be a rare thing, but I mean, most likely not. We're not going to see the Tony D'Angelos come out with NXT 2.0. That is not going to be a thing moving forward. We're going to see experienced in that ring. We're going to see a total revolution and evolution of what NXT has been since basically the pandemic. So much of the fact that Level Up has been on the hot seat and most likely will be discontinued. Now, personally, I think if NXT's touring and you want to have a couple matches prior to the taping or to the show or after, and it's just Level Up matches, I'm okay with that. We see that every time we go to a live WWE show as it is, whether or not it's a speed match, whether it's just a dark match for the fans, whether it's just, back in the day where it was like Velocity, Sunday Night Heat, Jacked, Metal, stuff like that. Like we saw that anyway. But for right now, I think you're just going to start on the new part of the touring, and you're probably just going to focus on that for right now. Make sure you get everything in order. And then when you get comfortable, when everything becomes a little bit more smooth in terms of business operations sense, that's when you're probably going to start adding. And that's when we could maybe see something like that. If we see something like that. So yeah. But going back to the initial thing about the Motor City Machine Guns, that's just another example of seeing something for the ratings. Because I do think we both know, when I say both, I mean me and you, the viewer. But I think we all know that the Motor City Machine Guns' first appearance in WWE is going to be pretty fun to watch, especially for a fan that enjoys tag team wrestling, a fan who watched TNA from the ground up, saw, these two. We saw the story. I mean, I first was introduced to these guys back in the early 2000s with Ring of Honor. I made the Next Generation comment, and I look no further than Alex Shelley, who was front and center of Generation Next, a group in Ring of Honor that also had Jack Evans, Austin Aries, Roderick Strong. So now that we can put the Motor City Machine Guns into the tag team division in WWE, it's only going to be mere time before they go to the main roster. I mean, I don't think you're going to get people who are that polished, that far into their career going straight to an NXT brand. I think you're going to do something of stature with them, and Xavier Woods makes a lot of sense here. We also have heard that Miro from AEW has requested his release. Now, whether or not this is in fact a true statement, there is so much that has to go in play before we even start speculating what he's doing next. Because let's just play the card that he did, AEW does not have to grant him that release. They don't have to say, okay, fine, become a free agent. In fact, they can just say, no, we want to work on this relationship. We want you to finish off your contract. You signed a contract with us, and you're going to see it through. And guess what? That is a complete fair thing to do. I know a lot of people get a little bit salty on the internet about that and say, well, they should just do what the talent wants. No, the talent signed. That was the talent making a decision to devote said amount of years to the company. Now, you could not be happy with creative direction, which is the rumored thing. which, trust me, you think any pro wrestler loves every piece of creative direction the company does for him? No. There is so much more to being unhappy than just creative frustration. And that's only saying if Miro is frustrated. At this point in the day, we're only speculating on what the talent is feeling. We don't know for sure. We can jump to conclusion on what we think we know, but that's just it. It's something we think we know. It's not something we actually know. We're not backstage in the locker room, and guess what? We are not buddy-buddy with the talent. So reading something online is not factual information. That's just a tabloid. And we comment on what we hear in the news, and that is the rumor that Rusev has requested his release. And if you want to play devil's advocate and just assume what we hear is true, well, then let's do that, because speculating on the what ifs is fun. It really is fun, and I have no problem doing that. So if we're playing the Miro requests his release, and let's just say AEW grants it, there is no guarantee, people, that he goes back to WWE. There is no guarantee that we see Rusev again. There is no guarantee that Rusev Day is there. Now, is it likely? If this was the direction and this was the statistical truth, sure. But at the end of the day, we got to look at what he wants. Now, he very well could, if he was in a position where he has a granted release, he might go to MLW. He might go to Japan. He might go to TNA. He might not even wrestle for a bit. He might just need a break. Now, that's highly unlikely given the fact that, well, he's probably chomping at the bit to do something inside a squared circle. But we have to, at the very least, think of all possibilities. I think it's more likely that we can talk about somebody like a Ricky Starks being WWE bound on a more immediate field than we can about Miro and Rusev. Chris Best is coming in and saying Hunter will definitely make a play at trying to sign Rusev. I mean, Chris, I'm just going to say your wording is very double. It's very confusing because it says we'll definitely make a play at trying to sign Rusev. If he makes a play, he is trying to. He is doing it. So if you're making a play, you are signing. I think if Triple H does make a play, he is signing him. Because, I mean, the track record lately when Triple H intends to sign you, it works. And that's only if Triple H is the guy making that thing. A lot of us are assuming it's Triple H, but really comes out to be a Nick Khan thing. I think Nick Khan is more of that deciding factor for a lot of talents to go to WWE. He is that guru almost. But yeah, no, I mean, I think the expectation is that if Miro does become a free agent, WWE is the most likely spot for him. I think that is the most obvious thought here, but it's not the most guaranteed. It's just the most assumed, and I think that's what we have to look at. We have to look at the actual statistical thing here, and that is nothing is confirmed until it happens, especially in the world of professional wrestling. But yeah, no, again, like I think it's more of a thing to talk about Ricky Starks joining WWE than it is about Miro right now, because based on that, the fact that AEW still has to grant him a release, they still have to do that, and whether or not they do it or not, that's going to take some time. So, I mean, we've seen examples of the grizzled young veterans asking for a release and not being granted one, and their contracts were played out, and then they left. And that process took, what, half a year? Longer? I mean, who knows how long Miro still has on his current AEW contract. If he has 2 years left, AEW doesn't grant, he's there for 2 more years. So we have to look at that as realistic options, because there is nothing conclusive about Rusev being in WWE tomorrow. But there is something truthful about Miro being in AEW today. How we get from today to tomorrow? Well, that's the question we should be asking. We heard the news that SmackDown is moving in, or could be moving to 3 hours in 2025, which to me makes all the sense in the world. And I say it in confidence because I look at what Monday Night Raw has become in 3 hours. And people can say, well, it wasn't always this good. No, but it wasn't always in this part. It wasn't in this era. You know, Triple H wasn't running the show back then. He is now. And Monday Night Raw and the 3 hours aren't what Vince McMahon's Monday Night Raw at 3 hours was. Not at all. And when you see the depth of the talent, just as an example, on Friday on SmackDown, we saw DIY, we saw the Street Profits, we saw Giovanni Vinci, we saw Apollo Crews, all in really, really condensed segments here, almost used as bona fide extras. Yes, they were part of the show. Yes, they definitely helped the 2 hours go by, but the emphasis on that main event wasn't about the Street Profits or DIY. It was really more about the bloodline and the potential rift between Cody and Kevin Owens. But with 3 hours, you now have an extra hour to kind of use all these talents a little bit more, to give them something of dire need. Like, what do DIY and Street Profits, like, what are their intentions now with going against the bloodline? Is there any rift between them at all? That's something that I think this extra hour is going to give us. It's going to give us more storytelling by some of the superstars on that roster that we don't really see a lot of. We're also going to see probably more people just hit the stage. Like, all we got from Chelsea Green was a backstage, or not even a backstage promo, but a vignette with her promoting her soon to be dumpster match with Michin. We didn't even see Piper Niven on SmackDown. But with the 3rd hour, maybe we'll get a Piper Niven match. Maybe we'll get a Piper Niven segment. Maybe we'll get more between Michin and Chelsea Green in this scenario. So when you look at what a 3rd hour can really represent, it's, more time for the talent. And we all know that time in pro wrestling, especially in WWE, that's the currency that the talent wants. And remember, people, time is the only form of currency you never check your balance to. So when it comes down to time, it's very valuable for the talent in WWE, because it's very easy to forget about anybody if you don't see them. Like, we're not even talking about John Cena right now. Case in point. So yeah, SmackDown going to 3 hours. Who knows what we'll see? If we see, like any one of those tag teams I mentioned earlier, Motor City Machine Guns, potentially Lucha Bros. There needed going to be time to, have matches, have segments, get to know them in WWE, because we all know that when you wrestle in another company, come to WWE, they're still going to give you a backstory to why you're there. They're still going to provide you information to why we care about you. And that is something that WWE does very well right now. So we're going to get that. And sometimes you just can't have 100 segments in a 2-hour show, but you can get closer to that with 3 hours. So I think this is going to be a benefit, especially on Friday, where, you don't really see a lot competing against it. Like right now, when Monday night is after Bad Blood, starting October 7th, we're going to see Raw go to 2 hours. When you think about what they're competing with right now, and that is the juggernaut, that is Monday Night Football, I mean, their ratings are going to dip. It just is. As big as and amazing as Monday Night Raw is today, you're still competing against something that is harder to beat, and that is the NFL. So, with at least the North American audience, they're going to be tuning into the game. They might be tuning into both, but at the same time, this isn't a shot to WWE here, but when you're competing with a live game, a live sports game, you're going to be on the tip of your hat a little bit more than a broadcast where okay, well, they're going to talk more about this stuff next week. Like, if you're a football and a wrestling fan and you're watching the game on Monday and CM Punk does a 15-minute promo in the ring and it's a tie game and everything is just at the high dramatics, you're not watching the CM Punk promo over that, even if CM Punk's your favorite wrestler. Because you've seen a 15-minute promo from CM Punk before. You most likely will see it again. You're going to watch the game because you're a football fan as well. And because the high-end drama of a football game almost is there every play. So jumping back down to 2 hours for the remainder of 2025 until you go on Netflix, at that point, you are no longer competing on a broadcasting play with the NFL. In fact, you have expanded your viewership even more, because now people who subscribe, people who don't watch cable, can now but just watch maybe Netflix. Maybe they Netflix and chill. Well, now on Mondays, they could Raw and chill, or they could Netflix and Raw, whatever way you want to go about it. That is now an option to a different and honestly a larger amount of people worldwide. So the football fans will now enjoy their game. They could have the game on TV. They could have their Netflix on their phone. They could have both, and everybody wins. So it's not a negative thing. Not to mention, we all know that in October, the WWE, after Bad Blood, there's one PLE that they have in the remainder of the year, and that's 4 games. That's Survivor Series. So yeah, they'll be focused on that, and then they're focused on promoting Rumble, getting that kind of going, and that'll hit hard in January, because guess what? The Rumble is February 1, so it has the entire month of January to get going, including that first Raw on Netflix. So it's going to be a big thing. And you think that maybe just in December, WWE is gearing towards Netflix at this point. So yeah, they're gonna finish off a lot of their, smaller feuds. And that's going to make you want to watch. But they're going to make Seth Rollins returning, most likely in the Rumble, a bigger thing. They're going to make some of these talents that, like a CM Punk in the Rumble, Drew McIntyre in the Rumble, they're most likely going to stack the men's Royal Rumble in 2025. And they're going to use this time to not necessarily give 20-minute promos to these talents, but they're going to give time to the Bronson Reeds, the Braun Breakers of the world, right? We're going to see that. Ludwig Kaiser's probably going to wrestle more matches than Gunther after Bad Blood on Raw for the remainder of the year. And guess what? He's going to stand to benefit from that. And it's going to be a good thing. We're going to see a little bit more understanding of where the Kofi Kingston Xavier Woods story goes. And that's a good thing. So what we're just doing is we're really building the undercard here. And by the time we hit one of the most, if not the most, important and really popular pay-per-views, PLEs, you're going to be all set because you don't need to give a reason to care about the big names. You already care for them. But now you have a more added adventure to caring about everyone else. So it's good. It'll be a great thing for Monday Night Raw. It's a little bit of a reset. And guess what? It's good. It's healthy. And it's not going to be damaging to WWE's ratings. Just you watch. Before we get to the big story, I also said that I was going to predict every AEW champion and who they're going to lose their title to. And now, if you are there saying, wait, you're doing AEW and Ring of Honor? No, I'm just doing AEW. Ring of Honor is going to be a different week because for the next few weeks, I will do that. Next week, I'm going to tackle TNA champions. And the week after that, then maybe Ring of Honor. But today, I'm only tackling AEW. I'm only tackling AEW. So hear me out. I'm going to start off with the FTW Championship. And I have Big Bill beating Hook. Because in recent weeks, well, not really recent weeks, but we have seen in the past that Chris Jericho was the FTW champion. Chris Jericho is affiliated with Big Bill. Chris Jericho is done with Hook and competing over that FTW title. But is it the learning tree? Who knows? If Chris Jericho perhaps goes and has his sights on a different title, maybe Big Bill looks at doing what Chris Jericho ended up leaving away, and that is the FTW Championship. So I have Big Bill beating Hook, becoming the FTW champion. Now, you could say why he doesn't need it. Yeah, you're right, he doesn't. I didn't even want to do the FTW title. I didn't even think it's a real title in AEW, to be quite honest. But it's definitely not a Ring of Honor title. So it's there. I have that. It's a throwaway. Who cares? Because honestly, who does care about the FTW title? Anyone? For the International Championship, I do have Ricochet taking it off Will Ospreay at some point. I think this feud they have, it was definitely something that I think everybody knew what was happening as soon as we saw Ricochet get beat up by Bronson Reed. Yep. I think it was the most obvious thing we were going to see in AEW television probably within the last 6 months. Definitely the last 4 for sure. I think Ricochet is probably set to turn heel on Will Ospreay. He most likely won't win his first match against him, but he will then have one more match, turn heel on him, win the title, and then guess what? He will, without a doubt, become international champion because they're most likely going to want this to go on for a little bit longer. So, yeah. As I am just going to try to get the Saints game on right now, I got another title here, and that is The Trios title. Now we know the Trios Championship is worn between, well, Yuta, Claudio, and I believe Pac. Wheeler Yuta, unless he does something, really, in terms of pick a side, I don't think he's going to be on that team anymore, seeing where Moxley, Claudio, and Pac are heading. Chris Best coming in saying, just off the top of my head with how stacked the WWE roster is, does it make sense for WWE to bring back the 40-man Rumble? Fuck no. Tradition. Let's stop trying to change it, people. 40 Royal Rumble was stupid, and they had a stupid person win it. No, it sucked. It went too long. Saudi Rumbles aren't fun. In the words of Dr. Evil, how about no? So who beats Pac? Yuta? Claudio? Somebody asked him. Well, I have FTR and Mark Briscoe. I mean, lately we've been kind of seeing them in a state of flux recently, and I think, put them together. I wouldn't even hate it. So you have that trio, you can have them kind of work towards, other trios there, and I think it'd be fun. I think FTR and Briscoe as a unit, I mean, who says no to that? For a women's title, I have Willow Nightingale beating Mariah May, and I think this is just because I think Willow Nightingale has kind of, taken a little bit of a slip in recent months as she doesn't have much going on for her. And I think, putting her right in the title picture right now, I think she'll be just fine if she's put back in. Not to mention, I don't see Mariah May even coming close to the length of title reign as Toni Storm did. So I think within the next, maybe 2 to 3 months, we could see somebody take that title off Mariah May. And why not Willow Nightingale? I think right now you're more stacked with heels in AEW than you do with faces. So why not? Yeah. As for the tag team titles, well, right now I can honestly say anybody but the holders. Right now I kind of forget there are tag team titles because, where are they? When are they ever defended? People want to make fun of the Judgment Day and JD and Finn not really defending them much, but can we say the Young Bucks are really making them the workhorse title either? I don't think so. So I do have 2 people that do like to work a lot, and you can with the babyface name. We saw this years past. I have the Acclaim. I want to see the Acclaim back on my TV. I want to see those controversial raps. I want to see everything. I think this is a great way to get the fans back. I think when you give them a reason to be involved, to be invested, and to be a part of the show, the Acclaim do that. So yeah, let's start scissoring again, people, and let's see some gold around the Acclaimed. The TNT title. Oof. Jack Perry. As much as I want to see Jack Perry cook with this TNT title, I already don't care about his TNT title reign. It's a weird situation here because I want to see what he does because I'm very curious because I do think this is kind of his breakout moment, right? Especially as a heel. He's a champion. He's on his own 2 feet. He's protected with the group that he's in, but this is his time to shine. It's almost watching Randy Orton when he was a part of Evolution, because we can say the start time of when he was in Evolution to the end time, huge change. And I'm kind of hoping to see maybe that same change with Jack Perry. But I think this is the one where you got to go obvious, and I do think it's Darby Allin who takes it from him. You've seen kind of just what they've been doing. You've seen Jack Perry put him in a body bag, and you have to think Darby Allin comes back, does something, beats up Jack Perry. Do it in a crazy, well, maybe do it in a, you can't call it a casket match, maybe call it a coffin match, call it whatever you want. I don't know if WWE, I think WWE trademarks casket match, so coffin match, or maybe do a graveyard match where it's like their version of the Buried Alive match. I don't know. But I think something along that line, that's where Darby Allin can become your TNT champion. I got the TBS championship, and as much as we talked, or I mentioned about the long reign of the women's championship with Toni Storm, I also do think she is a standard right now of, she is the top of the game in the women's division. She is, I think, the most attractive talent in the sense of a wrestling sense, because her character is one of the best. Her wrestling skills are one of the best. Her promos are second to none. She's a total package of what you want the face of that division to be. And right now, if you ask me, Mercedes Moné experience is not working like you hoped. And I think in order to salvage that experience, you need to stop forcing it down our throats and give us a storyline we care about. I say we have timeless Toni Storm defeating the CEO, Mercedes Moné, and becoming the new TBS champion. Now, I know in the AEW world title sense, we have Bryan Danielson going up against Nigel McGuinness, but Nigel McGuinness is not who I'd peg to beat Bryan Danielson. But I do have Nigel McGuinness to beat Okada to become the new Continental Champion. And a lot of people say, well, why not the International Championship? Because I had somebody else for that. But I also think Nigel McGuinness versus Okada is a match that a lot of people would gladly tune into. If you're a fan of AEW and you got Nigel McGuinness versus Okada, I give you 3.5 minutes before you start saying fight forever. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm very intrigued with Nigel McGuinness on how he's going to be in the ring. I don't assume he's going to be rusty, but I do think he's not going to be as quick as people might think. He's still going to be very good. He is just very good. He's one of the most... He was the one talent I think we all can agree that we wished we could have seen where things should have gone for him. And I don't think that is... I don't think that's really disputed. I think that's something a lot of people, when they said they got to watch Nigel McGuinness in Ring of Honor, they got to see kind of where his career was taking him, only to see what really happened to him. It just sucks. So, yeah, we want to see just where things can go if he is back. And maybe, just maybe, Nigel McGuinness can recoup that momentum. And if he can't do the whole thing, maybe he can get a little bit. And I think him versus Okada for that championship is just the right play. And I also think somebody like Okada needs that right person to work with. If he's going to lose that championship, somebody has to be somebody that the fans can get really behind. And I think Nigel McGuinness is really that person they can get behind because you just want to see him succeed. That's a comeback story of comeback stories in professional wrestling, if you ask me. But now people ask, well, who do you have beating Bryan Danielson? Well, it's easy. That guy was a comeback story. That guy is a fan favorite. Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan, whatever you want to call him. He is the man that makes us believe. So who better to take the title off him than the man who I believe is the biggest heel in AEW, and that man just has a contract opportunity for a title match whenever he wants, and his name is Christian Cage. I think Christian Cage is by far the best man suited to become the next AEW champion. And I really think if you want to move into an era where your world title gets a little bit more storytelling, a little bit more fan interaction, a little bit more fan involvement, a little bit more cinema, as the kids like to say, you need an antagonist. And there's no better antagonist right now than Christian Cage. And then we can talk about, well, who do you have him feud with? Well, you can have anybody feud with him. That's the beauty. When he comes back, you can have Adam Copeland. If you don't want to see that, and I understand why, you can have Swerve Strickland. You can have Darby Allin. You can have Will Ospreay. There's a lot of people you can have here. Just make it make sense and deliver in the ring. And that is the beginning of making the AEW title one of the, if not the most important championship in professional wrestling. Because right now, I don't think it is. I don't even think it's the most important one in the company. I think the international title right now looks to be more wanted than the AEW world. This is how I change it. You put it on the right person. And that man is Christian Cage. Now, before we get to the final story, the main event story that I have today, I am going to play you a video of all the beautiful shows that Turnbuckle Studios is showcasing this week. We like to call it the calendar because really, that's what it is. So here it is. Check it out. Make sure that you like, you subscribe, you follow to everything, not only Chris Perish podcast related to, but everything Turnbuckle Studios is as well. So check it out, and we'll be back in a second. And there you have it. All the beautiful program of Turnbuckle Studios. And make sure you're checking out the Raw Patrol tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern time, as you'll see me back. In fact, you'll see me running back with the weekly run in Parish as the Raw Patrol surveys the scene, the wrestling scene of WWE every Monday night. The major story I have for you, the main event story here, is what I truly think is going to happen. Sorry, not what I think. What I would do in the main event, Bad Blood. And I do think now the main event of Bad Blood is the tag match. Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. Now, what looks to be in our path is Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes teaming together. Why? Because Roman Reigns is in a fight against the Bloodline, and because not that long ago we saw Cody Rhodes and Solo Sikoa in a cage match for that championship, where Cody Rhodes, for the second time in a row, has defeated Solo Sikoa for that championship that he owns, the one that he defeated Roman Reigns for at WrestleMania 40. A lot of people, most likely probably Kevin Owens, doesn't feel why Cody Rhodes needs to be involved in this business. And guess what? I think that kind of lies the story here of everything. I look at both sides of the spectrum. Why are Cody Rhodes getting into this match here? And I think it's because Cody Rhodes, since it's been back, he has put himself in positions where he doesn't necessarily need to put himself into. But he does it because maybe he just believes that he can help. Maybe he can facilitate something more outside of, just him. Maybe he feels like he's in the crosshairs here. Maybe he just doesn't want to see Roman Reigns get beat up by the Bloodline because he knows what getting beat up by the Bloodline feels, and maybe he has a little bit of compassion for the man that he chased for multiple years for that championship. Because when you go to war with somebody like he's done in the 2 last WrestleManias, it could be just that mutual respect that Cody Rhodes has for Roman Reigns. We saw the segment on Friday where, there's still that little beef between the two. There's unfinished business. Why? Because, again, the last 2 WrestleManias, Roman won the first one, Cody won the second one. Between them, scores tied. It's 1 apiece. Cody Rhodes will remind Roman Reigns that it's not his WWE anymore. The WWE Championship, Universal Undisputed Championship, it's his now. It's not Roman's. But Roman Reigns says, you're in my way. And at the time, it wasn't just a literal sense because Cody Rhodes stepped in front of him. No. Roman Reigns says, you're in my way in life. And which was very telling to me. Because it means no matter where Roman Reigns wants to go, he now knows Cody Rhodes is always going to be there. And right now, Roman Reigns knows that Cody Rhodes needs to be taken care of if he is going to be the face, if he is going to be the man that carries WWE. And I think the one thing we both can honestly say is both men want that pressure. Cody Rhodes has hinted at it at a press conference, and actually not hinted it, he's flat out said he does believe, and there is a competitive nature between the two to be that man. But the last few weeks, month and a half, are we just supposed to forget everything Roman Reigns did? Are we supposed to just forget that he would do everything at any cost just to be champion and hold on to that title and to be the man? I don't think so. He used his bloodline. He used Jimmy and Jay and Solo and Heyman and Sami Zayn to do a lot of his fighting and to do a lot for him so he can remain champion for well over 1,000 days. So what makes people believe that he is a changed man now? What makes you think Hello, Bobby. How are you doing? How's your day going? Thank you for joining us. You've come in at the right time. But what makes Roman Reigns the most trusted partner? If you ask me, nothing. He's a man on a mission. And I thank you. I always appreciate, Bobby, when you're in my channel, when you're in my comments. It's always a fun time. I don't think Roman Reigns is a trusted ally to Cody Rhodes. If I'm Cody Rhodes, my guard is up like you wouldn't believe. And I think that explains in a nutshell to why Kevin Owens is very reluctant right now to do anything with Cody. I'll get into that next week. But I predict Roman Reigns has a mission at Bad Blood, and that mission is to get back his championship. Regardless of what we see at Bad Blood, I believe that Roman Reigns will flat out turn on Cody Rhodes, and this whole thing since WrestleMania has been a very evil plan from both Roman and Paul Heyman to make people believe that Roman is a changed man, but in reality, he's just not. He knew that there were issues between Jimmy and Jay in the bloodline, but he didn't have it in him to kick his own family out. That's why Solo did it. Because Solo has been in the shadows of both his brothers for far too long, and he was more than willing to do it. I think this version of the bloodline as we see it was the vision of both Roman and Paul Heyman. And I do believe after Bad Blood, I do believe on the SmackDown after Bad Blood, we'll see Solo Sikoa put the Ulafala back on Roman Reigns and acknowledge him as the tribal chief. And I think the OTC doesn't mean original. It doesn't mean anything other than one tribal chief. And that one tribal chief is Roman Reigns. And then all of a sudden you have this group, this bloodline. When you think about it, it is Roman. It is Tama Tonga. It is Tonga Loa. It's Solo Sikoa. And it is Jacob Fatu. And it is the most powerful version of the bloodline we have ever seen. Chris Best coming in saying, Cody Rhodes could very much end up like Sting. If you recall back in WCW, Sting would put his trust in just about anyone, and they would turn on him. Yeah. And guess what? There are some people in WCW that got tired of that. And that's why they turned on Sting, i.e. Kevin Owens, Cody Rhodes. Bobby, thank you. I try to have a fun atmosphere, fun environment. But now all of a sudden we're going into War Games and we're wondering, okay, what's going to be the match? Well, guess what? We got the 5 already. We got a 5 on one side that now Cody has to look at his 5. I think by then we all know what Cody has done. Cody has formed relationships with a lot of people. he has formed one with a legend killer in Randy Orton. And if there's a right-hand man to Cody Rhodes, well, it's Randy Orton, right? I think so. And then Randy Orton convinces Kevin Owens, who's really at this point, I've always had the back. And therefore, now you have Kevin Owens and Randy Orton. Bobby Petito coming in saying it would be very interesting. It would be interesting if Roman turned on Cody at Bad Blood. And then who else? Well, it's obvious. Roman said that they took Jimmy from me. Nah, he pushed Jimmy away too. It was just Solo that took Jimmy out. And it was Roman that really pushed Jay out. So it's Roman and Solo to why Jimmy and Jay reunite to team up with Cody and to join Cody's team as they go into War Games. But to counter a wise man, the man that gives all advice to Roman Reigns, but through history, who was the man that always gave advice to Cody Rhodes? Well, if you remember, it was Double A. It was Arn Anderson. It was the man who was part of the original Four Horsemen. And guess what? He's been in some War Game matches himself. So there you'd have it. My War Games match would be Roman Reigns, Tama Tonga Loa, Jacob Fatu, and Solo Sikoa with Paul Heyman in their corner, going up against the team of Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, Kevin Owens, Jimmy and Jey Uso with Arn Anderson in their corner. And if you ask me, what is my play? Well, it's Hikuleo making his debut, helping the Bloodline win. And this is your introduction to either Ricky Starks or the man that you'll never forget the name of, Dustin Rhodes, coming back to WWE. I think the option is one of those. And I think this is where we're going. I think you can do Roman versus Cody 3 at the Royal Rumble in Indianapolis. And I think this is where we see The Rock return to WWE. And he helps Cody defeat Roman to set up Roman versus Rock at WrestleMania 41. Let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts. Bobby, if you would like to see this in its entirety, go check out Spotify, because after every live Chris Perish podcast episode, I do upload all these to Spotify, and you can check out my Spotify if you go to my link tree, which is right here at the bottom here. Normally, I don't send out my socials, but that is where you can see and find out my Spotify account. In fact, if you go to the description in the YouTube page as well, I have that as well. So yeah, if anybody else is like Bobby and didn't quite catch the entire show, that is a great way to do it. Now, if you're on the YouTube side of things, of course, you can always go back and watch older episodes just like that as well. But you will find out on Spotify with the question of the week. And that question of the week right now, as I said, is with the news of Downstate playing Cody Rhodes to the ring at Bad Blood, who would you love to see be played out in going into the ring? Now, it could be somebody you already know. It could be somebody that you want to see again. It could be anyone. Leave it open-ended. So yeah, let us know in the comments there on Spotify. Let us know everything. If you have any questions, concerns, or even advice for myself and the Chris Perish podcast, make sure you're checking or you email me at Perishute, PERISHUTE @gmail.com. I will not respond to you if you're disrespectful. In fact, I will just delete you and probably flag you. So if you have anything concerning about the show, if you have any advice, stuff like that, constructive criticism. But if you're only here to say nasty stuff, then I have no time for that. Bobby, before I head up, who should be the NXT Women's Tag Team Champion? The NXT Women's Tag Team to go against Spitfire, Danny, Luna, and Jody, threat for the TNA Tag Team Championship? Well, probably any two people in JC Jane's faction. I'll go with that one. I think JC Jane and maybe Fallon Henley. How about that? So yeah. But that'll do it for episode 42 of the Chris Perish podcast. I thank everyone that has been around. Bobby saying you like to see Metaphor, Jakara Jackson, Lash Legend 2. Yeah, one day. Let's have all the people go. That's what the point of the relationship is, right? But yeah. Thank you to everyone who has joined the Chris Perish podcast. Thanks to everyone who joined us on Instagram. Let me know if you enjoyed it. Send me a DM on Instagram if you enjoyed it. Things you'd like to see. Again, I am sorry if I cannot see a lot of the comments. They do not come through StreamYard. So unfortunately, that is just something I can't fix right now. I will look into it. I will see what I can do moving forward. But for now, I think that if you're watching on any other platforms and you have a chance to like the video, subscribe to the channel, or even share it, I much appreciate that. For the meantime, I say thank you so much. I am Chris Perish. You have been absolutely fantastic. And as we end every episode, I say thank you. I say go Saints. Enjoy your Sunday.
Rip through the clouds, faster, catch us from falling, road to the